Every day, Ahmed walks the hospital corridors hoping for his mother's recovery. Little does he know that Nurse Ayesha, caring quietly for every patient, is about to touch his heart in ways he never imagined, a love that heals them both. It's a love story about Ahmed and Ayesha. Hospital corridors. A love that heals. The hospital corridor always felt cold to Ahmed. Maybe it was the sterile air, or maybe it was the weight of knowing his mother lay behind one of those doors fighting a quiet battle with her failing health. He walked down the hallway every evening after work, carrying the same tired hope that today would be better than yesterday. But tonight, something shifted, something subtle, something warm. It began the moment he saw her. She stood near room 214, checking a chart with quiet focus. A soft glow from the overhead light brushed against her face, highlighting the calmness she carried like a second skin. Her name badge read Nurse Ayesha. He had seen her before too many times to pretend it meant nothing now, but today, for the first time, he truly looked. There was something almost unreal about her presence, not dramatic or loud, not the kind of beauty that demanded attention. Instead, she had a softness that made people instinctively lower their shoulders, breathe easier, feel safe. Her voice, even when he heard it from a distance, carried a gentleness that felt rare in a world always rushing, always shouting. When she stepped into his mother's room, Ahmed paused at the door. He watched quietly as Ayesha greeted his mother with the kind of tenderness that felt more like love than duty. She adjusted the older woman's pillows, spoke to her in a soothing tone, and brushed a stray hair away from her forehead. His mother smiled in a way she hadn't in days. "Your son is here," Ayesha said, her voice soft, almost musical. Ahmed stepped in. Their eyes met for a second that didn't feel like a second at all. It felt like a beginning he didn't understand yet. A warmth spread through his chest before he knew what it meant, and he found himself forgetting the heaviness that usually lived there. Ayesha offered him a small smile, gentle, polite, professional, but something inside him reacted as if she had given him much more. He sat with his mother until she fell asleep, but he kept thinking of the quiet way Ayesha moved through the room. She didn't try to stand out. She didn't try to impress. She simply cared, and somehow that was enough to make him feel something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. When he stepped outside the room, he found her at the nurse's station writing notes. She didn't notice him at first, and he used the moment to gather his courage. His heart was beating faster than it should have. It felt ridiculous. She was just a nurse doing her job. He was just a son visiting his mother, but the connection pulling him closer didn't feel logical. It felt emotional, immediate, real. "Excuse me," he said softly. She looked up and her eyes, deep, calm, patient, met his again. "Yes." "Thank you," he said, "for taking such good care of my mother. She talks about you often." Ayesha smiled, the kind of smile that reached her eyes. "She is very kind and very strong." He nodded, unsure what else to say. The silence stretched, but not in an uncomfortable way, more like a silence that invited something gentle to grow inside it. "You must be tired," she said. "These days must be hard for you." He didn't know why her words hit him so deeply. Maybe because she said them with genuine empathy, not the empty sympathy people often offered. "Yeah," he whispered, "they are." For a moment, the corridor around them faded. The noise, the footsteps, the lights all blurred behind the gravity of a feeling he didn't recognize, but didn't want to escape. "I hope things get better for you both," she said, her voice softening further. "Sometimes healing happens in ways we don't expect." He wanted to reply. He wanted to say 1,000 things, but the words stayed locked behind emotions he wasn't ready to name. So he simply nodded and stepped away, feeling something shift in his chest like a door opening. That night, after reaching home, he found himself replaying every second of their encounter. Her smile, her voice, the calm way she carried herself, the little warmth she quietly planted in the coldest corners of his day. He didn't know why she affected him so strongly, but he knew this wasn't ordinary. It wasn't something he could brush aside. Maybe it was the kindness she offered without expecting anything in return. Maybe it was the softness he'd forgotten existed in people. Or maybe it was the way she made the hospital feel less like a place of pain and more like a place where something gentle was waiting to grow. He lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, imagining her voice saying his mother's name with that same care, imagining the way her eyes softened when she listened, imagining whether she ever felt lonely walking those endless corridors night after night. Did she carry her own secret burdens, her own fears, her own hidden heartbreaks? He didn't know. But for the first time in months, he wanted to know something about someone. He wanted to understand her world, her silence, her smile. As sleep finally pulled him under, one thought settled deep inside him. She wasn't just a nurse in the corridor. She was the first light he had seen in forever. And something in his heart had already started to move toward her. The next few days in the hospital passed in a rhythm that felt strangely familiar yet newly meaningful. Ahmed arrived every evening like clockwork, but now his heart beat differently as he walked through the long corridors. The lights felt softer, the silence felt warmer, and every time he turned a corner, he wondered if he might see her Nurse Ayesha before she saw him. He told himself it wasn't a big deal. He was just grateful. He was just noticing her kindness. He was just human. But deep inside, he knew the truth. Something about her presence had begun to settle inside him, like a secret blooming quietly, shyly, beautifully. On the fourth evening, he found his mother sitting up and smiling more than usual. Ayesha stood beside her bed, helping her sip warm soup. "You're here," his mother said with a spark in her eyes that made Ahmed feel lighter. "Ayesha was telling me such lovely stories." He looked at the nurse, surprised. "Stories?" Ayesha smiled a bit shyly. "Just a few things to keep her distracted. Sometimes a little warmth helps the medicine work better." Her sentence carried a softness that made Ahmed feel something melt inside him. He took a seat near his mother, and for the first time, Ayesha didn't immediately step away. Instead, she stayed, adjusting the room temperature, checking notes, writing small observations that felt far more human than clinical. When she finally turned to leave, Ahmed followed her outside the room, unsure if he was being obvious or simply acting on instinct. "You talk to her like she's family," he said. Ayesha stopped and looked at him with calm eyes. "Every patient deserves to feel valued. Illness takes enough from them. Kindness shouldn't be something they fight for, too." He never knew a simple explanation could carry so much weight. He leaned against the wall, trying to read her expression, not just the surface, but what hid behind her calm exterior. "You're different," he said softly, surprising even himself. A flicker passed through her eyes, not pride, not discomfort, maybe a memory, maybe a wound. "Different?" she echoed. "Yeah," he said. "Most people do their jobs. You care, really care." For a moment she looked away, and the hallway lights cast a gentle shadow across her face. "Caring has a cost," she whispered. He frowned. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer right away. The pause felt heavy, like she was choosing her words carefully. "When you care too much," she said slowly, "you feel every loss a little deeper than you should. You carry people with you long after your shift ends. And sometimes it hurts more than it heals." The hallway grew quiet around them. Ahmed felt a strange ache in his chest, not for himself, but for her. He wondered how many stories she held inside, how many heartbreaks, how many silent nights spent remembering patients she couldn't save. Before he could ask anything more, another nurse called her name. Duty tugged her away, but she turned back once before disappearing around the corner. And in that small, fleeting moment, something unspoken passed between them, something tender, fragile, dangerous. Later that night, after his mother fell asleep, Ahmed wandered to the small hospital cafe for tea. He didn't expect to find Ayesha there, sitting alone by the window, her hair slightly loose from the long shift, her eyes tired yet peaceful. She looked up the moment he entered, and a soft recognition lit her face. "Long day?" he asked as he approached. "They're all long," she said with a gentle smile, "but some days feel lighter." "Today felt lighter for me too," he admitted, and the honesty slipped out before he could stop it. Her expression softened, not surprised, not overwhelmed, just quietly touched. "Oh?" she asked, her voice a little curious. He sat across from her. The air between them felt fragile but safe, like they were both sitting inside a moment that didn't belong to the hospital or their worries, just to them. "I don't know how you do it," he said, "seeing pain every day, watching people struggle, and still finding the strength to stay kind." She stirred her tea, thoughtful. "Kindness isn't strength," she said, "it's survival. If I stop caring, I stop being myself." He felt the weight of her words. She wasn't someone who offered kindness because it was easy. She did it because it was the only way she knew how to live. "You're stronger than you think," Ahmed said quietly. She looked at him, then really looked, and for the first time he saw the vulnerability hiding in her eyes, a softness touched by old hurt, a heart afraid of breaking again. "Maybe," she whispered, "or maybe I'm just tired of pretending I'm fine." Those last words hit him like a truth she had been carrying alone for too long. He wished he could reach across the table and offer comfort, but he held himself back. This connection was delicate. He didn't want to rush it. He didn't want to break whatever fragile trust had begun to form between them. They talked for a while, small things, gentle things, her favorite tea, his mother's progress, the strange calmness of late-night hospital hours. They laughed softly, shared quiet moments, and breathed in the comfort of being understood by someone who felt like a surprise life gift. When her break ended, she stood up. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" he asked. "For making tonight a little easier." As she walked away, Ahmed realized something powerful. He wasn't falling in love with her beauty, her uniform, or her kindness alone. He was falling for her strength, wrapped in gentleness, her unspoken fears, her silent battles, and the way she made the world feel softer even when she felt fragile herself. He left the cafe with a truth he could no longer deny. She wasn't just healing patients. She was healing him too quietly, unknowingly, beautifully. If you want a longer version, a sequel, or a more dramatic ending, just tell me. The next week brought moments Ahmed couldn't ignore anymore. Moments that felt like fate was gently guiding him forward, even when he didn't fully understand where it was taking him. His mother's health improved slowly, and with each visit, his heart became more entangled with the quiet presence of the nurse who had unknowingly changed everything. But something in Ayesha had changed too. She smiled, but sometimes her eyes carried a storm. She laughed softly, but the corners of her heart seemed distant. Ahmed noticed every shift, every hesitation, every silence that felt a little heavier than before. One evening, as he entered the hospital, he found her standing alone near the supply room. Her shoulders were slightly tense, her eyes lowered, her hands clutching a file as if the paper inside carried more weight than it should. Ahmed approached her slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Ayesha," he said gently. She lifted her eyes, and he was struck by the sadness he saw there. It wasn't obvious, it wasn't loud, but it was real. "Are you okay?" he asked. She exhaled softly. "Just a long day." "No," he said, stepping closer, voice lowered. "This is more than that. You've been carrying something for days." Her lips parted as if she wanted to deny it, but the truth reached her before her words did. She leaned back against the wall, her breath shaking the slightest bit. "I'm not supposed to let personal things affect my work," she whispered, "but sometimes they do." "You don't have to pretend with me," he said. "Not anymore." For a moment, she closed her eyes, and then quietly, painfully, she let out the truth she had been holding in her chest like a wound she didn't know how to heal. "I lost a patient last week," she said. "Someone I cared for deeply. Someone I tried everything to save, and it made me wonder how much more of this my heart can take." Ahmed felt the ache in her voice like a blade, sharp and raw. He wanted to pull her into his arms, shield her from a world that demanded too much softness from someone already soft enough. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "It's part of the job," she said, though her voice trembled. "But sometimes it feels like parts of me die with them, and no one ever sees it." "I see it," Ahmed said immediately. "I see you, all of you." Her eyes met his, wide, fragile, searching. "Why does that matter so much coming from you?" she whispered. He hesitated because the truth was heavy, and saying it out loud meant stepping into a place there was no turning back from. "Because," he said softly, "you matter to me." A silence fell between them, but it didn't feel like distance. It felt like the single moment the universe went quiet, waiting to hear what came next. Her lips parted, but before she could reply, someone called her name from the nurse's station. She blinked, breaking the moment, and stepped away. "We'll talk later," she murmured. But destiny didn't wait. It never does. That night, Ahmed sat beside his mother while she slept, but he couldn't stop thinking about Ayesha, her pain, her strength, the way she carried too many hearts inside hers. When he stepped out to clear his mind, he saw her again standing alone near the dim end of the hallway, staring out the window at the quiet city lights. He walked toward her quietly. She didn't turn, but he knew she felt him there. "You left earlier," he said gently. "I had to," she replied. "I wasn't ready to hear your answer, not then." "And now?" She turned slowly, her eyes reflecting fear and longing all at once. "Now, I'm afraid of what your answer means." He took a small breath. "Ayesha, I meant every word. You mattered to me more than I expected, more than I know how to explain." Her voice softened into something vulnerable. "Why me, Ahmed? You don't really know me." "But I feel you," he said. "Your kindness, your strength, your quiet pain. In a way, you make me feel like the world isn't as dark as I thought." Her defense began to crumble. He saw it in the way her shoulders softened, the way her breath trembled, the way her eyes lowered, as if she was afraid of letting hope in. "You don't know how many pieces of myself I've lost trying to save people," she whispered. "Then let me be the one who helps you heal," Ahmed said, his voice deep with sincerity. She looked up sharply, emotion flooding her gaze. "I don't want to be another burden on you." "You're not a burden," he said. "You're the first reason I've felt alive in months." The hallway around them blurred into nothingness. Just him, just her. Just a moment that felt like the heart finally choosing what it had been longing for all along. Ayesha's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. "I've spent years giving pieces of myself to others," she said. "I didn't think I had anything left to offer." Ahmed gently reached for her hands. She didn't pull away. She didn't hide. She simply let him hold the parts of her that life had worn thin. "You don't have to give me anything," he whispered. "Just let me stay. Just let me be someone who sees you, really sees you." For the first time since he had met her, she let a tear fall, and when it did, Ahmed wiped it gently with his thumb, his touch soft, careful, reverent. "How long have you felt this?" she asked, her voice barely a breath. "Since the first day I saw you," he admitted. In those same corridors you walk every night, healing people without realizing you're healing yourself too. Her heart broke open in that moment, not from pain, but from the overwhelming relief of being understood. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Then be scared with me," he said. "We'll figure it out together." A silence settled between them, deep, warm, full of promise. A silence that didn't need words. Then, very slowly, Ayesha stepped closer. Her forehead rested against his chest, her breath trembling as she let herself lean into him for the first time. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her carefully, as if she were something irreplaceable. And maybe she was. In those quiet hospital corridors under the soft lights, with the faint hum of machines echoing around them, two hearts that had been hurting in different ways finally found each other. Not perfectly, not suddenly, but beautifully. Her voice was soft when she finally spoke again, her cheek resting against him. "Maybe," she whispered, "love really can heal." Ahmed held her a little tighter. "It already is." And in that fragile, powerful moment, surrounded by the walls that had witnessed countless goodbyes and countless miracles, they discovered a different kind of healing, one that wasn't written in medical charts or measured in vital signs. A healing that came from love. A love that chose them both. A love that began in the hospital corridors where pain lived, but hope walked too. When love heals, hearts never forget. If this story touched your heart, like, subscribe for more beautiful love stories.